So next is the visualizer and the math tools. Um, we took a little bit, let's start with the math tools since we were pretty much just talking about that. Um, this obviously expanded much more than it was previously. So we have a bunch of intersects with all the different combinations, and then I have the helper functions with basically test different types of overlaps. Um, and then I have clamps. We have our what's the word I'm looking for? Conversions from world to local and local to world, our projections for the OBBs, and then the arrays is that's just pretty much a private function for the OBBs as well. Um, so let's go ahead and I guess we can talk about some of the intersects that we have. So the B-sphere is what we had before. The ABB is pretty simple. We're just checking for the overlap in using the min and maxes. And then the OBB and OBB is a little bit more complicated. We have to use the projections. So if we go to this overlap, you'll see that we're basically just using the formulas that you provided us. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but we use the projections to do that. And then we have I didn't use the base class, so I do have a ABB and OBB. Basically, just I basically just stored enough data, or I make it so that I'm able to retrieve the data that I need for the ABB to get the projection. And then I'm pretty sure I misspoke there, but whatever. Yeah, so anyway, that's the math tools. Every method should be no more than a few lines. I don't think they're that long. I think they're pretty short actually and readable. Um, I did duplicate code in a few places. I definitely could have expanded this more, and I felt that as I was making the terrain specifically, that I thought that I could expand it more. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to the visualizer. I don't remember changes we made here. Oh, significantly improved. Never mind. It has a factory pool. I thought it had this last quarter. Um, I didn't know this was this quarter's stuff. And it is done through a command pattern. I could have sworn this was last quarter stuff. But yeah, so basically we have the visualizer, we have show sphere, show box for the different, for the ABB and the OBB, and then show collision volume just for just to get a generic collision volume. And so yeah, so let's go into here. So we have the graphics objects initially that we create, so we don't have to keep recreating them. We can just keep reusing them. So when show sphere, is we just adjust our world to whatever we whatever the position and size of the shape that we have, and then we set the color, and then we use a command pattern obviously to render these. So then when it comes time to render, you use render sphere or render box. I believe it calls visualize all. So in the execute, oh yeah, we just use render sphere and render box, depending on the type. Oh yeah, so what I did do, I remember actually, I remember doing this quarter now. I added a volume type, and it's just creating an if statement. I'm sure, yes, I remember. I remember wanting to create commands for each one, but it felt, I don't know, I don't know if it would be that much faster than having this like tiny if statement. Um, it was, I'm sure it's like one like what step faster, maybe two, but yeah, so I ended up just storing the type and then just checking it here, and then we just call render sphere, render box, depending on what we have. We'll obviously have the factory, which is just like any other freaking factory. So I can pop factories out so fast. I use this so much in physics. So yeah, so then marker lines, additional tools. I didn't really use those. Um, I didn't run into any really problems where I needed them, and it would be probably helpful to use them, but I didn't do that. So showing all bounding volumes, you can select what volumes to show. I guess not when you're colliding. It is a bit overwhelming, as we saw. I couldn't see my bullets because there were just so many shapes on the screen, so it was a little bit overwhelming. So if we go to Surreal, you'll see where we call the visualizer. So we call visualize all through an attorney in the draw stage. That's appropriately called. And then we have our delete. So, and when we unload data, we have our delete called through a visualizer. And then yes, we have our support class, our colors, which was just stolen. So, yeah, so that's it for these.